Welcome to the JAMODI podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. One of the things that now, 14 years of coaching now for me, one thing that a lesson that you taught us, a standard that you had for us that I constantly talk with my players about, it's always in my head, is that idea of respecting the game. I loved when you said that as a player and what it meant. You could see what it meant to you. Could you describe a little bit, like, what is, for when you were coaching, what was respecting the game?
It was my livelihood. It was my life. And when you think about that, you've chosen this profession, and you don't want to cheat it. And so, and you want the kids to make sure they understand that this is an opportunity that not many people get. There were 2,300 kids in our school, and you were the best 12. And I mean, that's an opportunity. It's a privilege, truly. And to not squander that privilege, to not take it lightly, to make less of it by the way you act or by the way that you treat other people, to know that the game is so great in so many ways. It teaches you so many lessons in life. I mean, hey, you're competing out there every day, whether you're a software engineer or, whether you're an architect, you have to learn to compete. You have to learn to overcome, loss and dejection. I always tell people that, and the people I work with, and they're in sales and that kind of thing, they'll get down. I go, hey, every Tuesday and Friday, my job was on the line. And so, no one was more concerned about it. But if you lose, you can't whine about it you got to get past it. On Wednesday, you got to be over it.
Yeah.
And move on. So that's when I talk about it. It gives you the opportunity. It gave you an opportunity to go to college. It gave you an opportunity to learn life lessons. It's just an amazing game. The relationships that I got with other coaches, with my players like you, I mean, you have no idea the honor that it is to have those kind of people in my life as part of my journey. It's a pretty special deal.
Yes, sir. Yeah. One thing I always appreciated about you is that, I mean, how intense and fired up you could be, but then you were also, especially when you were talking about respecting the game, and I can think of post-game locker room speeches where you would allow yourself not. So it's easy, I think, as coaches to demonstrate anger. Like, that's not hard. That comes naturally because in our minds we think of all the things we didn't do well or could have done better. But what you were able to do too is just to be open and honest with your emotion and your ability to show. I mean, just show that you were upset or even sad in the fact that there was more that we could give, and you allowed that to show. That was always impressive to me.
Well, some of the stuff I did was planned, and some of it wasn't. I think that you could only get really mad and act like some kind of Jake leg once or twice a year for it to be effective. If you're in there, bad mouthing kids and insulting them, and they do that in practice, and you turn around and do it in the game, and then when you lose, you turn around and start pointing the finger. Those kids are going to turn you off. They don't want to play for a guy like that.
Yeah.
They want to play for a guy that was in the trenches with them, And that doesn't mean that we're not going to get beat, but I want them to know that when we get beat, it's not just them, it's me too.
Yeah.
I mean, could have had a poor coaching decisions. It could have cost them as players, so on any given point, we're all subject to that. But and I also wanted to make sure that I took them off the hook, so that they would not be. It's not your fault. We didn't lose because it's your fault. Did you miss the last 2 free throws in the last 10 seconds? Yes. But you know what? How about the guy that missed 2 free throws in the first 10 seconds?
Yeah.
It's still 2 free throws, And so I always want to make sure that I try to take the responsibility of the loss and put it in perspective. Because again, you can use anger to motivate them periodically. It doesn't work all the time, but I'm passionate. I coach with my emotions, and so I can't hide that.
Yeah.
But I hope that one of the things that I always try to do is, the more chaotic it got late in the game, late in the quarter, late in the fourth quarter, the calmer I felt like I needed to be, so that my kids looked over there and thought, hey, you know what, he's got a plan.
He's not freaking out, so
Yeah.
I don't have to freak out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And most of the time I didn't. I didn't have any idea what to do. But hey, you guys didn't know it.
Get the ball to Darren.
Yes,
that's a good.
That's
a good
really
play.
good play. That's a good play. Yeah.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.